It is time for us to bring to you today's Shakeup program, starting with our scripture reading, which is taken from 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 10. It says, "Therefore I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions, in distresses for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then am I strong." Shakeup is an interactive program right here on WEFM that you can be a part of on Mondays to Fridays from 10:30 a.m. We do apologize for the late start as we were having a bit of technical difficulties. Today's Shakeup program is being hosted by Mr. Augustine Ferdinand, and to be a part of the program, you can call us on 457-9997. You can call us direct or you can get us on WhatsApp. At this time, I will now hand you over or turn you over to the host.
Thank you very much, Diane. Good morning to you and good morning to the listeners of WEFM. Those of you who are also joining us via Star and Garifuna Radio. Many of you across St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Greetings to those of you also joining us in the diaspora in the US of A, Canada, the United Kingdom, and across the continent of Europe. Also to our many students abroad at this time in Taiwan, Morocco, Turkey, Mexico, Cuba, across the various campuses of the University of the West Indies. Good morning to those of you also joining us on social media via WEFM 99.9 Facebook page. Wherever you are, in the comfort of your homes this morning, driving to and from your destination, unusual side hustle, or on the farm. A pleasant morning to you. As usual, it's an interactive program, and the number to call and get interactive with us is 457-9997. That's 457-9997. That's the number that you can call and get interactive with us here on the program, whether via landline or WhatsApp this morning. Well, first of all, I want to read a press release by St. Vincent's Port Authority, which was basically disseminated last night from the media person at the port. And it says, and this is yesterday, that yesterday a large vehicle carrier, which we normally know as car boat, sustained damage to its hull as it attempted to berth at the Kingston Cruise Terminal. While the vessel remains temporarily disabled, all of its cargo was successfully discharged. The use of the Kingston Cruise Terminal became necessary because of serious damage to the main cargo pier caused by Hurricane Beryl. Shifting cargo operations to Kingston Cruise Terminal as a temporary substitute was done to ensure continuation of some aspects of maritime trade, taking into account certain functional conditions. Unfortunately, this incident has caused the cancellation of a cruise ship, which was due here yesterday morning. Had this accident not occurred, the cargo vessel would have departed in time for a cruise ship to make its call. The position of the breach on the vessel just above the waterline presents many operational challenges, as well requiring the professional assessment of the damage before it can be safely moved from its present location. The port's management empathizes with all those affected by the unfortunate incident, particularly those more adversely impacted, and sincerely regrets the resulting inconveniences. As a top priority, the Port Authority is taking all necessary measures to restore operations at Kingston Cruise Terminal as speedily and effectively as possible without compromise to either safety and security, and the avoidance of further potential complications by moving the vessel prematurely. An investigation as to the cause of the accident will also be undertaken. So that is the release sent yesterday by the Port Authority. So again, car boat had to use the cruise ship terminal to offload vehicles. We know that since some time now that has happened as a result of the main cargo pier being severely damaged by Hurricane Beryl. I know some persons, I listened to one or two programs this morning, and the sentiment is that, well, why the government or Port Authority, more or less, because Port Authority is a statutory body separate from central government, why they don't allow the the car boat to dock at Cannon Park port here, not too far from here. Now, answer me this. I always like to be reasonable this morning. If the Cannon Park container port can't even facilitate the docking of a cargo boat to offload building material, this car boat, it could facilitate to offload vehicles? Asking that question. I know the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines on an Issues at Hand program talked about the same issue. In that the reality is the Cannon Park container port is smaller than a lot of the vessels that dock there. Horses in Cannon Park know this. So again, I ask the question. If the vessel that recently came to St. Vincent and Grenadines with building material couldn't dock to offload materials at Cannon Park, and trust me, it would have been much less costly because the warehouse, one of the warehouse for building material not far from there, is the car boat. It will be able to facilitate to offload vehicles. The other thing is, as mentioned in the release, this matter was unforeseeable. They couldn't foresee that the car boat would experience damage. Couldn't. Had it not, car boat would have left cruise ship terminal just in time to facilitate the docking of a cruise ship. That's just the reality. But the unforeseeable happened. Unfortunately, to the taxi operators and all those who are looking forward to the docking of the cruise ship, it couldn't dock. There are those who say, well, why taking so long to fix or repair the current port? I don't know if you could, well, Beryl happened, what, July? Now is November. I don't know if in repairing a port that was severely, not any small thing, severely battered and damaged, that you could fix that in such a short space of time. Before you even contemplated about fixing it, I know the divers went to do their own assessment. You have to do that, among other things. So these are the limitations. And in the meantime, we simply have to use the cruise ship terminal that we have. It's not the government fault. I mean, the Sir James Mitchell administration bill can impact container port, but it's very small. So that's also limited. So we have to use the cruise ship terminal, cruise ship pier. But it also shows, ladies and gentlemen, why the government of St. Vincent and Grenadines, and thankfully so, is building a modern port. And thankfully also it will be finished by next year, May, June. Despite some who still maybe hope maybe after this they might actually see why it's necessary. Because this is the other fact. While Hurricane Beryl did damage to the main port, the current port is very old. Very old. So, I hope after all of this, those who oppose the building of a modern port can now understand its necessity, given all these factors. Now, the other part of it, and I spoke about it before, is that with the completion of the first phase of the modern port, we'll be able, the government of St. Vincent and Grenadines will be able to move to have work done and start the process in expanding the current cruise ship terminal. So the unforeseeable happened, but we have to simply operate within what exists, given the limitations. I remember just recently, as a matter of fact, right here in this studio, you had Fitz Bramble who came on a program here a morning and talked about the same port. I remember that very well. The skeptical of why the government is building a modern port. And I have the recording here. And he talked about port repair. A port that was built since the 1960s, completed. As some would put it, it's operating beyond its own life expectancy. Our economy has expanded significantly since then. We have to increase our capacity to hold more cargo, to increase efficiency. But yet, there are those in the opposition who still felt that building a modern port isn't necessary. I want you to listen to Bramble. Because again, I hope that with this incident, we can fully grasp and appreciate now the need for this modern port. Because the one at Cannon Park, it's also limited. Because not any and every vessel can dock there to offload goods, especially a car boat.
Timing of it, I mean, especially now with everything that's going on in the economy, I don't know if that is up. And then the other question is, has there been any reasonable analysis done to determine that the existing port can't be repaired, maybe, and expanded? I don't have that information.
Right.
What about the port down Camden Park? You know, what's the purpose of that? How is that going to figure into all of this? You understand what I'm saying? Show me the connection between standards and all of these glorious things that he's talking about, you know, the new port. Show me how these are impacting positively
in a practical way the lives of the intentions.
The port in Kingston, the modern port, is going to change the face of Kingston in a manner which, Sir James used to say he is doing things to change the face of Kingston, and his big project for that was the market. It was change it for the worse, which everybody, except perhaps him, accept. And even he, in his reflection, must see it was a bad project. Well, the way it's done. But when we move the port to the bottom end of the western end of the city and offers the opportunity for further development down there, what it does, where the Port Authority is at the moment at Port Kingston, all of that land becomes available for development. And the pier, which is the geese, where the geese boat would come, where the car boat them come, and so on, that will be developed for another berth for cruise ships. And we are speaking, in fact, I had the conversation already with a cruise line for us to partner in developing that area.
And it all depends on why are you incurring debt? Correct. Why are you borrowing money? If you're going to borrow money, like for example, we have a new port that they're going to build. So it's going to cost us more than $500 million. And my question is, how is this port going to contribute to the development of our country?
And between, me time up.
You supporting the resolution?
Between a rock.
You supporting the resolution?
Just a moment, honorable member.
This $40 million, being with the conference. Personally, hey, on this, I ain't supporting you, man. Maybe my party would. I don't know.
All right,
I'll be guided.
I'll put you to the test.
But for my own conscience, tell me there comes a time.
I'll put you to the test.
And it all depends on why are you incurring debt? Correct. Why are you borrowing money? If you're going to borrow money, like for example, we have a new port that they're going to build. So it's going to cost us more than $500 million. And my question is, how is this port going to contribute to the development of our country?
When you come in here, you give me no information whatsoever before all I see at the last minute, a resolution. And then you come in here and mumbling off something unrelated, taking so much time with unrelated matter. And I'm waiting to hear, how did they arrive at $50 million? And not a word. And then telling me, I must take pig in bag. Madam Speaker, I simply cannot and will not support this motion.
Personally, I'm questioning the timing of it. I mean, especially now with everything that's going on in the economy. I don't know if that is up. And then the other question is, has there been any reasonable analysis done to determine that the existing port can't be repaired, maybe, and expanded? I don't have that information.
Right.
What about the port down Camden Park? What's the purpose of that? How is that going to figure into all of this? You understand what I'm saying? And it all depends on why are you incurring debt? Correct. Why are you borrowing money? If you're going to borrow money, like for example, we have a new port that they're going to build. So it's going to cost us more than $500 million. And my question is, how is this port going to contribute to the development of our country?
Yep. Great economist. How will a modern port contribute to the development of the economy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines? Don't forget all those fellas, they at some point in time, maybe next year, will tell you that they support the project. Just bear in mind, it's a good thing we have all these. But again, as I mentioned, I am hopeful that given what is taking place, we now can better appreciate why the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is building a modern port. The current port has outlived its usefulness, more or less, because it's very old. You could do as much patch job on it. It is simply very old and has outlived its usefulness. You know, sometimes you have a house, or better yet, you have a vehicle. You will take out this, put in that, fix this, that, and terrible. But reality, you gotta break it down and replace it totally. And that is the case. But Hurricane Beryl surely accelerated the process by causing more damage to the infrastructure of the port. And so here we are now. We have to use cruise ship berth. The one at Canyon Park, I mean, it's limited. If you can't offload building materials down there, his vehicles, you could offload it from a very huge car boat. Obviously not. Anyone, could we have foreseen car boat being damaged? No. Experiencing damage? No. Obviously not. It's unfortunate, because I'm quite sure taxi to operators, other persons who are stakeholders in tourism are looking forward to welcoming tourists who will come off the ship. It's unfortunate. Again, the Port Authority is doing all it can to see how they can rectify the issue. Of course, it's not something very easy, because where you have part of a hull breached, you got to be very careful. But they're doing the very best. Well, like I said, I hope we now understand why we need a modern port and why the government of St. Vincent and Grenadines. And remember, the modern port in Kingston, which the government is building, in more than one phase. We have, of course, the main part of it, which is to facilitate the offload of containers and goods, while, of course, exporting goods as well. But the other part of the port project includes inter-island ferry docking. And that section will be down at Rose Place in particular. So that will facilitate the docking of Bequia Express, Gemstar MV, and other vessels that engage in inter-island ferry services. So that's the other part of the port project. And then after all that is done, it's the government's intention in expanding and modernizing cruise ship pier and using the existing port facility as part of that expansion project and development project of that side of Capital City Kingston, which will include touristic shops, boutiques, and part of that also includes the cultural and artistic center, where the current port is. So again, those who didn't see the need for the port may now appreciate its necessity. The question that Bramble asked, what is the benefit? I'm actually kind of surprised, because any economist will know the benefit of a port. A port is one that facilitates trade in and out of your country. And where you increase the capacity of your port, it also increases the capacity for exports. Not so? And anywhere you have a port, whether airport or seaport, you also have other businesses surrounding it because you have a lot of workers working at the port to begin with. They're consumers. They get paid, and obviously they have to consume. So, you have that benefit, including other jobs that will be created as a result of port development. Obviously, in terms of the physical facelift of Kingston, that is another benefit. But it's now 5 minutes past the hour of 11 o'clock, so we'll take a short commercial break and then we resume with the program.
The flavor nice, it's locally made. Affordable price, Lord, up to $3 retail. When you see we line with the red and white case, show me what you like. It's cigarette from Empire, Holdings Limited. It's cigarette from Empire, Holdings Limited. With over 60 years experience, hold the best tobacco, best ingredients. Yeah. This is your boy Lou to say, support local, buy your cigarettes from Empire Holdings Limited. 10 cigarettes in a pack for up to $3 retail. Remember, smoking is not for minors.
Let's get your laundry clean and fresh with the widest range of washing machines and dryers in SVG. At Singer, choose between our West Point and Speed Queen brands with an array of washing machines with payments starting as low as $92 per month. Your laundry room wouldn't be complete without a Whirlpool or Speed Queen electric or gas-operated dryer, saving your energy consumption. Also in stock is our West Point washer-dryer combo for only $136 per month. One machine that does the work of two. No need to change machines. Just toss in your laundry and forget about it. Whether your preference in machines is top loading or front loading, whether you want a 9 kilogram or a larger 15 kilogram washer, whether you're looking for a gas or electric dryer, we've got it all at Singer. Visit us today and get the washing machine and dryer that's perfect for you. Singer, your family company.
For over 20 years, Cubano Limited professionally delivers top quality products and exceptional service. Located in Sand Hill in Kingstown, we are open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. We supply animal feed, dog and cat food, animal supplements, a wide range of floral supplies, nursery pots, ground cover and shade cloth, and much more. We also stock a wide range of motor vehicle supplies, including automotive oils, filters for all vehicles, engine coolants, and much more. Email us today at Cubano_1@hotmail.com or call us today 451-2911 or 493-7175. Cubano Limited, professional, top quality, and exceptional service.
Whether you're ripping it up on the highway or taking a casual Sunday drive, OT Tire Limited is second to none when delivering excellence at reasonable prices. We offer new and used tires, tire repair and installation. We are the only place that offers nitrogen, which helps with gas consumption and ride comfort. Supplying you with brand name tires like Maxxis, Kumo, Good Ride, Westlake, and Triangle.
Boom! Enjoy the VIP style customer waiting lounge with refreshments and free Wi-Fi. You know what I'm saying, yo? This is Skinny Fabulous, and when it comes to tires, nobody makes it easier than OT. Boom! Got me run the road. When the OT car tire.
Follow OT Tire on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter today.
Hey, boom! Run the road. With OT tires.
99.9 WEFM.
It's time for Shakeup on WEFM 99.9.
Welcome back to our Shakeup program right here on WEFM. Remember that Shakeup is an interactive program, so you can call to be a part by dialing 457-9997 with your questions or your comments. Today's program is being hosted by Mr. Augustine Ferdinand, and I will now turn you back over to the host.
Thank you very much, Diane. So that's the question. Do you now appreciate the necessity of the construction of a modern port? And like I said, no matter airport, seaport, there are benefits to the economy. Increased trade, increased job opportunities, improvement in the overall infrastructure. But obviously you hear from persons like Bramble and those in the NDP that they really can't be supportive of the project. I remember even recently, as of Friday, I played what the MP for South Leeward, who is also the vice president of the NDP, Nature Stevenson, and what his take was on the port project. You know, it's strange enough that it's Friday we just, in this studio, we play that. Talking about port. And I want you to listen to Nature once again. And that is why policy is important. Because if that's the take of the opposition on this particular matter, then they're not serious about development altogether. But if you thought what Fitz said, questioning the benefit of a port project, or what Leacock and Cummins said in their opposition to financing for equipment for the modern port in terms of its operation, then what Nature say will blow you away for many reasons. And I want you to listen to what Nigel Stevens had to say on the matter.
Private, you want them to become criminals. Plain and simple. But when you look at this, the approach of this government, it shows that they are only concerned with a few people, the well-being of a few people. And the vast majority of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and most especially you, the people of Rose Place, they couldn't care less. You are going to remove people from their physical space that they are accustomed to. This is where you have your interaction. This is where you have your cultural activities, your spiritual activities. This is where you socialize. This is where you have developed as a person. And to uproot you from where, from all these qualities that you've been accustomed to, and send you somewhere else, it tells me that this government really do not have your best interest at heart.
Yep. That's Nigel Nature Stevens for you. He talked about the qualities that the people are accustomed to, the people who lived in Rose Place. Bear in mind that Cummins, the MP for West Kingstown, when all this was taking place, said that the persons who relocated from Rose Place to Lowmans, they were living in squalor. But apparently, Nigel Nature Stevenson believed that living in squalor is of a wonderful quality. Quality that the people are accustomed to, and therefore the government should have left them in that condition. Apparently, it was wicked enough to take someone who was living in squalor and put them in a better living environment. And sometimes you wonder how some people out there can seriously think that persons like Nigel Nature Stevenson should be a policymaker. Can you imagine that? We're talking about port development, overall development of the country. And here you have the first vice president of the NDP saying the government was wicked. They only think about themselves. How dare they move you? You know what he said? From your current living conditions. Conditions you're accustomed to. Conditions, mind you, that Cummins said was like living in squalor. How dare you? How dare the government move you from that condition and put you in a better environment? Your own home, inside toilet facility, kitchen. Where you no longer have to take your pail and your patty and just straight outside. How dare the government do that?
Private, you want them to become criminals. Plain and simple. But when you look at the approach of this government, it shows that they are only concerned with a few people, the well-being of a few people. And the vast majority of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and most especially you, the people of Rose Place, they couldn't care less. You are going to remove people from their physical space that they are accustomed to. This is where you have your interaction. This is where you have your cultural activities, your spiritual activities. This is where you socialize. This is where you have developed as a person. And to uproot you from where, from all these qualities that you've been accustomed to, and send you somewhere else, it tells me that this government really do not have your best interest at heart.
Boy. You know, out of many recordings I have dealt with, this is one of them that really hit me out of the park. And especially where he used the word qualities. Can you imagine that? Qualities. All these qualities that you're accustomed to. Boy, Lord. Oh, Lord. His chairman said that the folks there lived in squalor, but he sees it as really good quality that the government should have left them in that living condition. Boy, I tell you. And that is the vice president of the NDP. Never a dull moment. Can you believe that? And it tells you a lot of how they think in the opposition, how they see things. This government sees development, empowerment, and for the NDP alone, well, stay away there. Recently, and I saw, I think it's Searchlight, and even Eyewitness News, I think, carried it too as well, where mention was made of the relocation of persons in Pole Yard because of the construction and building of the acute care hospital. Based on what Nate just said here, he'll say the same thing about the folks in Pole Yard. They're accustomed to that, so leave them there. That's sort of backward thinking, just as how Bramble say, well, why is the government building a port? There's nothing beneficial about that. That's sort of backward thinking. And then at the end of the day, they'll come and tell you to vote for them, to put them in government with that sort of backward thinking. Backward thinking. You know, there's another thing. And I must say kudos to the promoters for the event that occurred on Saturday. Rise Reggae, I understand that Victoria Park was packed. And persons enjoyed themselves. But also on the weekend, we experienced torrential rainfall. And this is something we normally don't speak much about. but we are experiencing the impact of it, climate change. Morning, Valerie, Val, and others on the live. Also want to say happy birthday to my good friend Kelly Neverson. Hope you enjoy. But climate change is very real. Many of you who listen to the Prime Minister over the many years will know that if it's one thing, when he goes before the United Nations to speak, or any international forum, he always mentions climate change. Even before other governments and heads of governments in the region echoed it. Prime Minister of St. Vincent and Grenadines has always been out front on this matter of climate change and its impact on small island developing states. The opposition leader here in St. Vincent and Grenadines became a convert in 2019. I would never forget that. It was in the middle of 2019 when he attended the OECS assembly. I know the Minister of Sustainable Development, but it would have been either 2019 or about, yes. And the leader of the opposition finally admitted to climate change, and he used Salt Whistle Bay in his presentation as an example. Before that, the opposition never really believed in climate change. After all, they're the sister party to the Republican Party, headed by Donald Trump in the United States, and you're having a lot of right-wing political parties across the world that are climate change deniers. But over the weekend, what we saw, even though we are in the hurricane season ends on November 30th, but like I said time and time again on this program, I honestly don't believe in these seasons anymore. Trust me about that. We've seen where in March, we experienced a storm once upon a time. We are seeing where droughts are happening even in wet seasons. So I stopped go along with this season thing. We remember in 2013 in December, we also saw significant flood and storm. Because this is the impact of climate change. And oftentimes, we look at the developments that take place, and there are some persons who will say that we should have been further ahead without looking at the different challenges, including climate-related events that continue to impact us in an adverse way. And the impact has resulted in loss of life, of course, in loss to the economy in terms of dollars and value, and even to property and the like. And over the years, because of the impact of climate change, not just in St. Vincent and Grenadines, but across the region, governments have to borrow. We don't look at that, the opposition will come and tell you, well, oh, look, this is the dollar value of the debt and the debt to GDP. But when you look at why the borrowing, you don't get into that much. But for example, Hurricane Beryl, $800 million in loss and damage. In order for you to recover from that, it means, therefore, you have to borrow beyond $800 million, more or less, to recover what you lost. That's just the reality. So far, the government approved $120 thereabout million to help deal with material income support and the like. That ain't even reaching halfway to what you need. That's just the reality. Hurricane Maria in Dominica, as much as Dominica sells passport, it's one of the reasons why their debt to GDP is over 100%. They had to borrow. So normally we look at the strides we've made, the progress we've made, the initiatives, the scholarships and programs and the like, but we don't talk much about the impact of climate change and its effect on small island developing states, which push you to borrow money. We've seen under this government, starting with Layo, of course, Layo Waterfront Project. Had the government not done that, the entire strip there from the Seventh-day Adventist Church to the police station would have been gone by now. Rising sea levels. You don't need a better example of rising sea level than Salt Whistle Bay in Mairo and the entire beach strip from Villa to Indian Bay. Go wrong. You don't want a better example. Many of you who frequented those beaches know what they were 20 years ago to what they are now. And what you are seeing now is the visible impact of rising sea level and climate change. There are areas that are below sea level, including Kaliakwa. Now the problem is, if you have a community or a town that is below sea level, you have torrential rainfall on the island, the town and community is below sea level, it will be very difficult to get water out. That is for sure. Very, very difficult. But these are the things we have to deal with. We are a mountainous country with many rivers and streams, and therefore, with this torrential rainfall, you can book it sure there will be landslides and flooding. Over the weekend, I took the opportunity, as I drove in the city, I looked at Heritage Square. Heritage Square is one of the examples as to what river defense and training can do. Because you remember, for many years, once you had torrential rainfall, that river coming from Redemption Shops, Murray Village, coming down to Prep School and Banker St. Vincent, exiting at where the port is, you used to have the river overflowing its banks at Heritage Square. And the entire Heritage Square area would be flooded. The beauty of what river defense and training can do saw no flooding at Heritage Square. And it's not now, it's been an occurrence over some years now since that river defense project was done. Again, it gives you a good indicator and an example as to how a community and an area, including businesses, can benefit from a government project that may seem so simple, but very significant. Similarly to Bokoment. The persons living in Pembroke Bokoment area, by the time they hear of torrential rainfall, they start to get scared. Why? Because Bokecho, they anticipate severe flooding in the area as a result of the river. Thankfully, the government embarked on a significant river defense and training project in that area. The river running down from Vermont, coming down Hope, Pembroke. And therefore, And I traversed that area on the weekend as well to see the impact. Thankfully, the river, because of the river training and defense project, the river flowed smoothly. The only problem I realized, especially coming down, the road coming down from Hope to Pembroke, is that some of the property owners, they need to do their drainage better so that the runoff water from their home is coming onto the road. But that's different from the riverbank. So again, these projects, some were done via grant financing, some of course the government had to borrow money. They are normally called disaster risk reduction projects. They come in very handy in preventing damage to property and the like. But you have to deal with these issues. They're not of your making, it's nature. But you have to borrow and spend money to do these projects. Similarly to what the government is doing with Sandy Bay Coastal Defense Project. Similarly to what the government did with Sanssouci and Georgetown Coastal Defense Project. You have to spend money. You have to borrow also to do these things. But sometimes you only look at the debt, but we don't see why. It's very important that these projects be done. And we have more of them to do. We have more river training to do. Sometimes this is another thing I'll mention. Like even up to yesterday, while rain coming, I was out working. Someone and I from Braxa went to a particular area and look at a road. Sometimes we see a road so simple. We may say, boy, over, why should 800 to 1,000 feet of road should cost almost $1 million, $1.2 million? Because we think that all they're doing is the surface of the road. But I will tell you this, because of what is happening with climate change, and of course, where we continue to see the building of homes increase exponentially, more persons want home ownership, and also the amount of vehicles we have. You have to construct the roads much bigger. But also importantly, you have to build the drains much deeper to accommodate and facilitate the excess amount of water coming from the homes. But the reality is also, because of our topography, you have to have good support, what we know as back walls. And trust me, the amount of money that will go into back walls and drainage alone is a lot. So it's not just the road. Yeah, you could simply put on concrete and some steel and thing and you get a road done. But you also have to put in, if you're thinking long term and longevity, you have to put in better drainage and proper back wall support, which costs significant amount of money. And that is what is happening under the National Road Rehabilitation Project and other projects. So, the issue of climate change, it may not sound sexy, it may not sound appealing, but it affects us significantly in so many ways, not just the loss of property, and in instances, the loss of life. Even looking at agriculture, I mean, the amount of rainfall over the weekend, you saw they saturated. Bucket trouble about that. Whatever fertilizer a farmer may put for the crop, bucket show that don't wash away. Christmas is coming up. All of us, we want vegetables. We can't withstand another hurricane. I could tell you that. So pray every morning that we be spared. We can't withstand another one. These are events no human have control over. But We have to prepare for it, and we also have to respond. And that costs money. It costs money. Beryl alone, $800 million in loss and damage. In order for you to recover from that, you need more than $800 million to at least try recover infrastructurally. Because recover means going back to a position where you were before the damage occurred. In some instances, it may mean bringing you back in a better position than where you were before the damage. But we ain't see half of the money yet. And don't forget, you also had Hurricane Elsa and the impact of that. Basically, over the years, since 2001, and the impact of climate-related events, you're talking about over, if you look at all the storms and the floodings that we've experienced, you're talking about close to $2 billion in loss and damage to the economy. But you have to get money to rebuild homes, to relocate persons, to do river defense and training, to do sea defense as well, to do roads, slope stabilization. Currently, you have a slope stabilization taking place on the windward side of the island. I remember when on the leeward side at Belial, they had slope stabilization and widening of the road. All these cost a lot of money, so that we can properly mitigate against some of these climate-related events. But it's now 25 minutes to the hour of 12 o'clock. We'll take a short commercial break and then continue with the discussion.
The flavor nice, it's locally made. Affordable price, Lord, up to $3 retail. When you see we line it, with the red and white case, show me what you like it. It's cigarette from Empire, Holdings Limited. It's cigarette from Empire, Holdings Limited. With over 60 years experience, hold the best tobacco, best ingredients. Yeah. This is your boy Lou to say, support local, buy your cigarettes from Empire Holdings Limited. 10 cigarettes in a pack for up to $3 retail. Remember, smoking is not for minors.
Lynch Caribbean Brokers is here to innovate how your insurance works for you. Here to design and deliver insurance solutions, proven solutions tailored to your business. Solutions from our global network of insurance experts, which all comes with an indigenous Vinci touch of excellence. We're more than just insurance brokers, SVG. We're your trusted risk advisors. Lynch Caribbean always has your back. Contact us today for insurance solutions, strategic risk advisory, and more. Call 453-3300, email info@lynchcaribbean.com, or visit our office at Beachmont, Kingstown.
Christmas in this year.
Can I have this? We have an extra $400 from Flow. You can have everything you want.
Mortgage with Flow. With Christmas in, win weekly prices up to $10,000 in cash. Sign up for a postpaid bundle or a broadband plan.
We Christmas in with free groceries from Flow, plus a chance to win weekly prizes and up to $10,000 cash. Head over to your nearest Flow store or visit discoverflow.co. Flow, we Christmasing.
Mortgage with Flow.
Beryl, an early hurricane of unprecedented intensity, is fresh in our memory. The International Panel on Climate Change predicts for 2024 and beyond increased severity of weather and hurricanes due to global warming. Be smart, plan ahead. We can take steps ourselves to minimize loss and suffering from these threats. At Lanes, we have the necessary products, flashlights, water tanks, generators, water pumps, and more that you should have to provide you with safety and comfort. Whether building anew or reinforcing existing structures, Lanes can provide both product and specialty consultation advice at our Home Vision department. Protect your family and protect your home. Lanes, 784-456-1411.
At Paramedics, we sell the widest range of medical supplies. For all your family needs, we sell hospital beds, commodes, wheelchairs, walkers, raised toilet seats, quad canes, adult pampers from 3XL, 2XL, 1XL, large, medium, and small sizes, sterile and non-sterile gloves, diabetic machines and strips, urine strips, cotton, gauze, and so much more. The management and staff wish all a Merry Christmas, thanking you all for your support in 2024 and wishing you a blessed and prosperous 2025. Call us at 451-2763 or WhatsApp us at 531-9119.
99.9 WEFM.
It's time for Shakeup on WEFM 99.9.
Yes, we are back in studio of WFM. I am your host, Augustine Ferdinand. Remember the number to call 457-9997 to join the discussion. And said they don't have a special truck to pick up this stuff. I believe what I may be talking about, possibly debris. Yes, Braxton normally go around. They send out teams. Let's say it's reported that you have a major landslide in a particular area that's blocking the road. That report may be made to Nemo. If it's made to Nemo then contact Braxa, or maybe report it straight to Braxa, and they send out their team to do a cleanup. In some instances, you may have a tree blocking the road. They send out their team to, with a chainsaw and clear that area. I think we lost that call. We have another call coming. Let's take this call. Where is it? Right. Good morning, caller. Welcome to Shakeup.
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Hello, Holly.
Yes, greetings.
Yeah, greetings to you, brother. Love. As you're on the road about road and so on, one of my greatest concerns when you build a road, you need sidewalks.
Yes.
Because how the drivers that drive 40, we had a pavement to walk on.
Yes, that's important as well.
Yes. So when we in the freeze, building roads and say that make up for the pedestrian who walking by the side of the road, So they had to walk in the road. That's my contribution.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things the contractors do take into consideration as well. And we do the sidewalks in a way now where we understand that there are persons who are differently abled, who have wheelchairs, electronic and otherwise, where they can use them. I believe what Anna is talking about, and she said we had the conversation, is where after the road cleaning program, you normally have the debris at the side of the roads. And I've constantly said it on the radio that truckers need to speed up the process in picking up those debris. I think this time around they did a fairly okay job. I think because of the many complaints that were received in the past. But now that you bring this up, this is another issue in terms of garbage, where some of us, we still litter, and this also can cause a problem in terms of the blockage of drains. Obviously, though, in terms of where a community may be below sea level, blockage, the debris is not the only problem, because you still have to, let's say all the drains are cleared, it will be very difficult to still get water out, but we've seen around the capital city, for example, where I think Tusty Water was part of that collaborative initiative in having a lot of bins around the city. But I know there are persons, even where they see a bin less than 10 feet away, for some reason or the other, they litter, unfortunately. And this is something that we have to continue. I know CWSA, well, through Solid Waste Management Unit, I can pinpoint for you some areas where we know persons used to dump garbage, for example, behind post office, there, behind ministerial building. I know when I used to attend grammar school, for whatever reason, persons used to just dump garbage there. After Solid Waste Management Unit put up the sign and the fine, we no longer see that taking place. I know, for instance, there's the road going up to Lodge Village. They also put a sign. So we've seen some progress, you know, and thanks to Solid Waste Management Unit. But there are, of course, improvements needed in terms of our own habit, where persons do litter. But and we also have, you know, sometimes it's so strange. There are persons have their individual private property. Look, where I live, we have a drain and there's a steps. And one morning, and I know given before the hurricane season started, I saw that it wasn't fully blocked. But obviously you can tell that given all the debris and thing that comes there. And I knew that we were entering the rainy season. I paid some fellas to clear that entire drain, you know, so that you can have a free flow. But some persons believe that even though the drain is in front of the property, that they have to wait on Braxa or the persons who clear the road cleaning to come and clear the drain for them. And sometimes it's that sort of mentality and attitude that we have to change. Because at the end of the day, I will tell you this. You leave that drain blocked and water, like on the weekend happen, your property will also be affected. You know, let's take this call. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Mr. Ferdinand.
Yes.
I really just want to say that I want to congratulate that police force. And they look so smart for the turnout of that parade, our Poppy Parade yesterday.
Oh, yes, yes. I didn't get to see
they
it.
looked
I didn't get to see
wonderful.
it.
I like pomp and pageantry, you know. I could sit down and watch those kinds of things. Incidentally, this morning I turned on BBC and they were having their celebrations concerning Armistice Day. Do you know it started exactly at 11 o'clock on the 11th day of the 11th month of the year? That is Armistice Day. And they also look very impressive anyhow, but there's plenty of them. Anyhow, I thought the police force really looked good yesterday. Okay.
Thank you for mentioning that. Yes, they had what we normally know as Poppy the Parade that took place yesterday. I also see my good friend and pull me up there. You also had the OECS swimming competition, and I think Antigua came out on top in that competition that took place also on the weekend as well. And kudos to them. And that event basically took place at the usual site where we normally have swimming at Shrewsbury Aquatic Center. So yes, Adna, yes. Thanks for mentioning that as well. But these things we also have to think about. Like I said, they may not sound sexy, but they do impact us severely. The people in Myrick will tell you, in terms of Salt Whistle Bay, they can't tell you. Those who had to relocate in North Windward and elsewhere can tell you that. Persons who live in Bocoment can tell you that. And thankfully, we've had these river defense projects to help. Persons who have the businesses at Heritage Square can tell you that. And again, the river training and defense work that took place from prep school, well, girls' high school, go down, assists in that regard. And this is why, because of the impact of climate-related events and the excessive borrowing that governments have to do, to respond and to have mitigation and adaptive measures because of climate change. You have to borrow money for that. It's why small island developing states continue to make the argument for a vulnerability index. Because part of the problem is that financial agencies, World Bank, IMF, and other institutions, look at St. Vincent and Grenadines, St. Kitts, Antigua, Grenada, Dominica, St. Lucia, and the like. Look at us as middle income or close to high income in terms of Barbados, high income developing countries or high income countries. And because of that, you lose out on what's called a lot of concessional financing arrangements with these lending institutions. As a matter of fact, you also lose out on a lot of grant funding for certain things. And you normally hit with high interest rate loans. But the argument is that, look, while we may be middle income countries or high income countries, or high developing economies, we are very vulnerable. And that is true. Because in one moment, a large portion of your GDP can be wiped out. You in an island alone, their economy, their local economy, severely affected. Tourism, for instance, fisheries, they're battered. So immediately, a lot of persons, even living on the island, based on their income, based on the standard of living, could have been very high, but now, not high anymore. Because of an activity that happened in less than 12 hours. From that level, I'm showing you why the argument is being made that, look, yes, while we may be middle income or high income countries, in less than 12 hours, that can change. One moment we may be exporting hundreds of heads of dasheen, coconut, among other things. But the next day, a hurricane or storm can come and wipe out that entire sector. You know, today I bought bananas, by the way. I was so happy. You know, there's always say you never miss the water till the well run dry. And I'm quite sure many of you listening can appreciate how elated I am. When I saw bananas this morning, I bought a good hand because honestly, I'm hardly seeing bananas. Hardly. But that's because of what happened. That's the reality and the impact of these climate-related events. One moment, it's here, you have all these things, but by tomorrow, they all can be wiped out. And therefore, the case is being made before the international bodies that we must include multidimensional vulnerability index because of the shocks that we can face at any given moment. Because at the end of the day, you have to borrow money to recover, to rebuild the bridges, to do slope stabilization, to do river defense and training, to build roads. And in the instance of this government, repairing people's homes and building homes for people. And you need money to do that. Where persons continue to lose income, fisheries affected, they don't have any hotels to work, you have to now give them income support. Because there's no economy there for them to work under. And you have to have money for that. So, Sometimes you hear the opposition and other persons will talk about loans that the government borrowing. But they're necessary. It's necessary. And thankfully, the government of St. Vincent and Grenadines since 2018 of May brought about the climate resilience levy that fund the contingency fund. And where 50 million of that we use to help finance the supplementary in July. And that also the opposition opposed to the extent where the vice president of the NDP, Sinclair Leacock, said, well, look, instead of bringing this money and charging $3 per night, he suggested that the government should have simply give money to tourists to incentivize them to come to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I kid you not. And again, it goes back to policy, which is very important. Policy, very important. Because here you are, a vulnerable country to all these climate-related events, and the government is finding a way to see how we can have money available to respond to disasters in a swift fashion. And while the government try and find ways to do that, the opposition not only opposed it, but suggested that the government use tax dollars to give to tourists who already, by the way, the mere fact that they travel means they have some money to spend, and give it to them as a mean of incentive. So we're trying to say people can't come to St. Vincent and Grenadines unless we give them money too. I mean, it's this sort of thing. And I'm not making this up, and I have the recording here again for those of you who may either want to be reminded of it or want to hear for yourself. Listen to this.
My simple common sense would tell me if things are not going well for us and I want to have more, let me find some ways and modalities or mechanisms in which I could incentivize the tourists to come and for us to have growth. But more than that, Mr. Speaker, it is my humble submission that a golden opportunity presents itself. We want people to come back. You say it's only $8. You know what I would do if I were you, Minister of Finance? Every visitor that came to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I'll give them $5 US per night as an incentive to come back to St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Yeah, but it was. Yes, and it's $3 per night, which comes around to 8 EC. Now, that was the opposition suggestion, though. Thankfully, since then to now, before we use the 50 million, that fund raised over $70-something million. Now imagine if the government listened to persons like Sinclair Leacock, and he went even above to say, give tourists $5 every single one of them that come to the country, give them $5 per night, Lord Jesus, of your tax dollars. And some people will think that is wise fiscal policy. I tell you. Thankfully, Minister of Finance didn't listen to him. And we were able to raise over $70 million from that fund. And that money we used, I remember we used about $15 million of it during Suffolk to feed and shelter persons. We used some of that money as well. I think $3 million in helping finance the reconfiguration of the isolation facility. And we use $50 million now of it to help respond immediately persons affected by the impact of Beryl. Now imagine if the government listened to Sinclair Leacock and the NDP to give tourists since then to now $5 per night. Not just $5 alone in a one shot. And even with one shot, the amount of visitors that come to our shows. I mean, sometimes it makes you wonder. I'll play it again.
My simple common sense would tell me if things are not going well for us and I want to have more, let me find some ways and modalities or mechanisms in which I could incentivize the tourists to come and for us to have growth. But more than that, Mr. Speaker, it is my humble submission that a golden opportunity presents itself. We want people to come back. You say it's only $8. You know what I would do if I were you, Minister of Finance? Every visitor that came to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I'll give them $5 US per night as an incentive to come back to St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
And the man clap for that on the opposition. Oh, Lord. At a time. Now, since then, we've had record-breaking, and even the Minister of Tourism mentioned the numbers recently in terms of arrivals, both air and via sea to St. Vincent and Grenadines. But even so, like I said, it means in their mind, and maybe it's a thing with the NAB, because remember, Daniel Cummins, the chairman, said that mainland St. Vincent doesn't have a tourism product, so to speak. So maybe in their mind, the only how to get people come is by paying them to come. Because in their mind, we have nothing to offer, really. But that doesn't show the mere fact that we have record numbers of tourists coming to our shows, so that not only people realize that St. Vincent is the natural place to be, but the $3 per night ain't really affecting them and tipping more than that. Well, let us take this call. Good afternoon, caller. Welcome to Shakeup. You're the lucky caller for the day.
Good morning, boss.
Greetings.
Good. You know what is so sad is that Sinclair Leacock, in my opinion, is one of the sharpest members on the opposition, right? In my opinion. I could be wrong. However, in spite of that, you hear the garbage he talks, you know, and this is the problem. I mean, if one of their best is talk so much nonsense, $5, okay. So tourists come to St. Vincent, spend a week, 7 nights, $35. What does that mean to them? They're spending $1,000 a night.
Exactly.
I swear, $500. So somebody can come to St. Vincent for $35 a week, please. Thank you, bro. Talk to you. Bye.
All right. I mean, it's really funny. Really funny. But it's now 12 o'clock here in St. Vincent and Grenadines. Again, as mentioned in the release yesterday by Port Authority, with the unfortunate incident, it's car boat. Yes, the car boat received damage to its hull. And therefore, because Camden Park Port is very small and can't accommodate it, among other vessels, we have to use the cruise ship berth facility. They expected and anticipated that, all going well, car boat would already left to accommodate the cruise ship that was to enter the harbor yesterday. But again, the unforeseeable happened, got damaged, and therefore couldn't move. But the Port Authority is working aggressively to get this matter dealt with. Until tomorrow, take care, be blessed. Those of you who called in and made your comments known, thank you also for contributing to the program. To the comrades, of course, we look forward for National Council on Thursday this week, 5 o'clock at Russell's Auditorium. So get all your red ready, your red bandana, socks and shoes and the like, as we come and participate in that very important event and also listen to the officers of the party. With that, I hope everyone on a wonderful weekend. Take care, be blessed, stay safe, and have a wonderful afternoon.
WEFM, the new fresh sound.
It is 12:01 here in SVG, and it is now time for us to bring to you WEFM's midday news headlines, coming to you with the kind compliments of St. Vincent Distillers Limited.
Sparrows, run, of your sophistication. Sparrows,